We've been in a series called The Prayer Gym. So everybody get up real quick. Just stand up right where you're at if you're able. And just give yourself a little stretch like you're getting ready for the gym. Okay? Getting ready to do a leg press. I don't know what you're doing. That's right. Some of you were doing like downward dog. It was weird for your neighbor. Jonathan, stop pretending to squat. Okay, sit back down. So we've been in this series called The Prayer Gym. And if you know a little bit about it, you've been here. If not, you can watch it on our website. We've been talking through some of the things to deepen and to strengthen our prayer life. If you want to get stronger, you have to put tension and stress on whatever area of your life that you want to strengthen. And our prayer life is one of those places where we've been in the gym. Last week, we went through the Lord's Prayer, first two lines of it in Aramaic. We went through a bunch of different aspects of the prayer gym, but we're landing on where we were going through on a new covenant prayer that Jesus taught us. And we've been approaching the Lord's Prayer not in English, not in Hebrew, but in Aramaic. Now, there's two full chapters in my book called Static Jedi that I talk about dissecting the Lord's Prayer in English. There's two full chapters dedicated to that. So if you want to talk about praise, plans, provision, people, perspective, you can do that in English. And my book that I've already written helps navigate and dissect the Lord's Prayer in English. But I wasn't interested in that for this series. I wanted to go into the depth and the understanding of looking at the Lord's Prayer in a way that I never had before through the language of Aramaic. Last week we set up a little bit about Aramaic and that language, but let me just kind of recap. You're going to have to challenge yourself, okay? Because Aramaic is one of those languages that is very deep, complex. It's hard to understand. I had an illustration about 3D glasses. Aramaic's three-dimensional. There's the actual meaning, there's the metaphorical, the intellectual, the universal. There's all these different applications when it comes to Aramaic. It's also the language of Jesus. This is my hunch that we're moving into this. Hebrew was a language that was reserved for the temple. And Jesus, when he taught, probably, scholarly debate here, was in Aramaic. It's complex, it's rich, it's got sound meaning. Even the way that the words resonate in your body are going to have different meaning. It's just a wonderful, beautiful language. And I have a pastor in Iran that recited this prayer, the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, and I want you just to listen to it to get a little taste of just some of the sound meaning that happens. So here is the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Amen. We talked last week about the Father which is in heaven, and one of the Greek concepts of heaven is that there's this metaphysical place elsewhere. Do you remember the country song I played? The country music? The song, like, if heaven wasn't so far away, I load up the truck and drive away. That's this basic part of the song. And then I played, that's a very Greek concept of heaven, where heaven is like far off from this place. Well, the Aramaic view of heaven was more like the song Warrant, the 80s hair band, Heaven Isn't So Far Away. You know which song I'm talking about? And Kelsey Euland, you sent me a text message with another song. What was that song for the class, Kelsey? Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? See, you know it. You listen to secular music too. Don't look at me. KTIS, whatever. How do you all know that song if you only listen to Christian music? Roller skating? If you could couple skate and you could do that backwards, you were a boss. Anyways, that's how I met my wife. But we talked about heaven being actually not this metaphysical far off place, but actually this here place. And when Jesus says, our Father which art in heaven, he's talking about the reality of God. Yes, the transcendence of God, the overness of God, but also the immanence, the details, the God that's in the dirt, in the grit, in the atmosphere you breathe. You cannot outrun the presence of the Lord. It's everywhere. And the truth is Jesus also is referencing an Aramaic vision of heaven, which would be the potential of heaven in every single person. That's hard for us to see sometimes. That heaven is possible in that person that's our enemy. That heaven is possible in the person that wounds us. That heaven could be a potential choice and a reality for someone who we've divorced, who we want to dismember ourselves from. Does that make sense to you? Like heaven is possible even in the people that are on death row. Does that make sense to you? Like that's how Jesus sees people, and maybe it's just the gift of mercy talking, but I don't think anyone can outrun God's grace. If they choose to receive it, they're worthy of it. It's easy to say those things, it's hard to live those things. We talked about the idea that the hallowed be your name. You remember the word hallowed in Aramaic? If you recall, hallowed, it's a farming term in Aramaic, and the word actually would be more like if you were clearing the dirt. That God, yes, your name is hallowed, set apart here, but I'm also clearing the dirt. I'm setting apart a patch of dirt in my soul that you are going to plant your light. So when Jesus says, hallowed be your name, it's not just God hallowed here in the heavens, but hallowed here in the potential heaven that's in me. It's I'm going to set apart, I'm going to move aside the dirt and allow you to plant your light within me. These are the first two lines of the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, and we were there for a half hour last week. The depth and the meaning of this is just beautiful. This divine oneness, true parent, single source of spirit and creation, you are light, sound, experience, near and far, able to be known. God who is set apart as holy, I'm also setting apart a holy space, a holy place inside for you. Focus your light within me and make it useful. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. The next part of this is the kingdom come. Now, have you ever trained a puppy? Have you ever had a puppy? The next part of the Lord's Prayer is thy kingdom come. Let's look at that first word, kingdom, and then secondly, the word come, or the command to come, to be here, to be present. If you've ever tried to train a puppy, you've maybe had an experience where you tell them to do a command and they look at you. So Pastor Brandon and Meg have a new puppy. It's Valley. Valley is a little black Labrador, and she's here today. And she's our guest. And she is absolutely amazing. Now, if everyone can see Valley, I mean, look at this little puppy. She's so cute. Oh, sorry. The black hair, I didn't know.
Old age, you need glasses.
So, yeah, old age, I need to get glasses. Easy, Brandon. Pastor Brandon, can you put Valley down? Hey, Valley, come on. Valley, come. Valley, oh, boy, this is going to be bad. Come on, Valley, come on. I know what's going to happen next. Okay. We all know what that dog was thinking. And if you remember, Lisa Hillstead told us about the pooping dog as part of the prayer gym. Yeah, that could happen here. But Valley is adorable, and Valley is learning a lot of different commands, and Valley's understanding one of those, which would be the idea to come. To come to the spot where you are. Can you give Pastor Brandon and Meg a little bit of prayer and a little hand clap for little Valley joining us? What a cute dog. So you have to understand, though, that the word tete, or come in Aramaic, is not just the command, but it also has images of a mutual desire. So what I'm saying to you is the idea of when Jesus says your kingdom come, he's not simply commanding Valley to come to go from here to here, what Jesus is really saying is he's saying, I share the mutual desire that your kingdom would be here. It's not just the command, but it's the actual shared desire of the command. It's a beautiful metaphor when you think about a dog. And until Valley shares my mutual desire, until Valley gets in her brain, her little puppy brain, that she's going to share in the desire that I have for her to go from point A to point B, until she shares in my desire for her to be obedient, for her to come, for her to move, she will never move or go anywhere until she does share that desire. And that's exactly what that word in Aramaic is illustrating. God, your kingdom come, move closer, invade my space. Your kingdom come. God, come, move closer. But God, I also desire that your space would be here. I also desire that you would have your kingdom here. I share in this goal with you. I want this as well as you do. Whole different ball game when you look at it in Aramaic. Am I right? The word kingdom. The word kingdom is the same root word that we get the word eventually in Greek for kings and queens. And kings and queens would have wills. They also would have this I can, like moxie sort of attitude. Does anyone remember that old word, moxie? It's an awesome word. In fact, over in Pennsylvania, there's still a very, very, very like craft, small beverage. It's like a Coke. It's like a cola, and it's called moxie. And it's got this bitter cardamom root in it, and it's amazingly sweet, and then the aftertaste is awful. At one point, it was more popular than Coke, actually, because it had a lot of moxie. Like in the 50s when it was there, and that's why I'm wearing a white t-shirt and my shoes like this, it's like, hey, how you doing? I got some moxie. You know what I mean? Like, it was this idea where you had this I can attitude. Now, if you express that attitude enough, where, yeah, I can do it, I got this, then you become a ruler. You're recognized as a leader. It's the same word kingdom as where we're getting kings and queens, or this idea of moxie. The kingdom word in Aramaic is also having to do with rulership or principles of ruling. Like counsel, or in specific, God's decrees, his wills. Do you know that there's duality in God's wills? There's duality in God's wills, meaning there's plans and there's purpose. There's decrees and commands. God's wills, it's his commands and his purpose, his decrees and his commands that guide us. Guide us where? To unity, to light, to this word hallowed, to this word focused within us. It's guiding us to the kingdom of God. And it's all of this potential that's all rolled up in one word. And the best way to illustrate that is with a paintball gun. Now, Jonathan, I need you to take that sheet of paper and put it in front of your face and go stand right in the back here. And now, if you know anything about paintball, this gun could never go off. There's no cartridge so that's not even, before you send me letters that I brought a paintball gun on stage. I did, but it's not loaded. And, there's paint in it, but it can't shoot, okay? But there's a coil in here, and there's gas that you can attach. And the best way I can explain to you when Jesus says the word kingdom in Aramaic, he's talking about the coil and the gas. He's talking about the potential that's housed up as power and our, you could say, unwinding of that power. He's talking about what's possible and then what's our position. He's talking about his commands and his purpose. He's talking about the fact that we got this moxie, this potential here on earth. It's this I can of Christ's followers that says, despite what we see, we are going to move in that direction. And when we unleash that power, church, when we get a hold of the idea that we share in Christ's mutual desire of the kingdom coming from there to here, when we unleash that power, heaven is on the offense, not the defense. You know the word gates of hell will not prevail against this? You know, that sometimes is interpreted incorrectly as a defensive strategy. where heaven's like hedged off and hell's invading, and we're all like, no, don't get us. Hell, you're not going to prevail against us. We've built a fortress here of Christian music, which none of people at Summit listen to, because they all listen to Warrant and country music. But the point is, we get this idea that like heaven or the kingdom or like us is this defensive strategy. Can I tell you something, church? Heaven is not a defensive strategy, nor is it on a defensive mode. Defensive might win championships, but we are on the offense. Not offense. We're not trying to offend. We're on the offense, moving with love, with justice, with community, with diversity. Let me just get this into your brain here. It's all the coiled potential that's in heaven. And when you start pulling the trigger and you start letting that kingdom potential, that shared desire, you start getting paint all over the city. It starts marking things, and you're like, that's where the kingdom was. That's where the kingdom was. That's where the kingdom was. And you see paint splattered all over St. Paul, all over your life, all over someone's car, all over someone's divorce, all over someone's serious like sickness. You start seeing the kingdom of God splattered when you start getting on the offense. Do you wake up in the morning? Now I'm preaching, okay? Because the problem is this. I think sometimes we think we're on the defense. Like, oh, we got no control. No, when your black boots hit the ground in the morning, does heaven go, crap, they're up? Or hell, does hell go, crap, they're up? And heaven goes, yeah, I got another boy in the game, another girl in the game. This is how we go. Do you say hell is offending me? The gates of hell are just attacking me? Or do you say, no, I'm locked and loaded, baby, let's go? Quit being a victim when Christ is your victor. Quit waking up all poopy pants because you had a bad day. Listen, I'm telling you, heaven is not on the defense. We are on the offense. Are you hearing what I'm telling you today? Man, this person is really offending me. Well, offend them back with love. Oh, man, this is a really hard situation. Well, the gates of hell, are you bunkered down in your hard situation, or are you advancing through the valley of the shadow of death that he gets with you through, not out, not hedged around? I could preach just on this for an hour. But when he says the kingdom come, do you share in that desire? Do you share in the kingdom's desire? Do you share in Christ's desire? Or, frankly, can I be very harsh? Are you building your own kingdom? Do you share in the desires of the kingdom, or are you worried about your kingdom? Because a lot of times we are. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be good stewards of your business or your money or your family or your time. But I'm telling you, those things have to have their place and position in your life. Seek first what? Your promotion at work? An extra zero on a paycheck? Seek first what? The kingdom of God, and everything is added unto you. Are you sharing in those desires, and where does that show up? With how you invest your time, your treasure, your talents, your temple, and your task. How does it show up? Because if you look at your 5 T's, you'll see where you're investing. You'll see your priority list. Do you share like Little Valley share in the kingdom of God? That's a question the Holy Spirit's been asking me constantly as I prepared this. And post-preparation, and for the rest of my life, I'm going to have to answer that question. And then the secondary part of this, I just got to ask you, when you look at your life when it comes to the kingdom coming, are you on the offense or are you on the defense? Are you truly a victor in Christ, or do you play the victim card outside of Christ? Are you getting up in the morning victorious, or are you constantly speaking to the opposition as if they're winning? Are heaven's gates prevailing against you, or are hell's gates prevailing against you? Or are you heaven unleashing that potential, and they cannot withstand the light that's emanating from your life? Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There's a word for will here. Willpower, trying hard, willfulness, a determined force, if you will. But in Aramaic, it also carries the desire of meaning or memory. So it's more like something you do as second nature versus something you choose in your nature. Does that make any sense at all? When Jesus says your will, when he's talking about that, isn't like the white-knuckled effort. He's talking about as it is on earth as in heaven. This will, I'm going to walk in front of this microphone, Eric, or this speaker. Happens. Not like Pastor Brandon's bike that he bought for Sophie. You didn't let me finish. It's his daughter's. Sheesh. So in Aramaic, when Jesus says will, it's not like, where's my bike? In Aramaic, where Jesus says will, it's like, I'm going to go ride in God's will. When you ride in God's will, guys, are you coming up there with this right now? Come on, let's go. Everyone look over to your left, my right, because they're coming in early. Here we go. When you got to focus back here on the bike. Never mind what's going to break in just a second over there. When you look at the word will, what I'm saying to you is it God's will something you have to go find, or is it something that you just do? Do you need to learn how to ride a bike after you've learned how to ride a bike? Remember how that goes when people say, like, you haven't done something for years, and they're like, it's just like riding a bike. Why do they say that? Because it's like, oh, once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. Are you practicing God's will so much so in your life that it's become second nature? Are you practicing God's will so much so that you don't have to think about it anymore? You just get in God's will, and you're like, it's just like riding a bike. Hey, you don't have to pray for God's will to show up, to be kind, to operate in the fruit of the Spirit, to care for someone. You don't have to pray for God's will to feed people, to tithe. You don't have to pray for God's will to sow your resources. You don't have to do those things. It's just, that's part of his plan already. But when we practice that plan, it becomes like what? Riding a bike. When you don't practice that, you've never attempted it, you need training wheels. But the more you practice the will of God, I'm telling you, the more you can just ride in his will versus try and find your bike. This is the word for will. So, just as is in heaven. Let me talk about this real quick. Just as, the word for just as. Consistently and stability. Just as. Consistent and stable. Consistent and stable in what? Operating in God's will. His decrees, his plans, his purpose. In consistency and stability. Now, I don't take attendance at church. Like, I don't have a check-in thing like old school, like where you have to go down the row and you check in. God isn't interested in your attendance. He's interested in your heart. But can I say something about your life as a disciple of Christ? I am interested in your consistency and your stability. That I am interested in. And so when you sign up to serve in church, or you're on a team, or as things grow, you're finding places to use your gifts, do you do that just as? Do you do it once in a while, or do you do it as in Aramaic, with consistency and stability, where your word is ironclad? Let your yes be yes and your no be what? No. When people send you a request to be on a team and you register an event and you sign up for Planning Center to serve in Sprouts or to do something, show up consistently and in stability. Why? That's the just as Jesus is talking about. If you do the right thing long enough over a period of time, you get to the right place. But if there's not consistency and stability in the execution of you riding in God's will, the kingdom coming, sharing that goal, and it doesn't become a lifestyle, it remains a hobby. You hearing what I'm saying to you? It remains just something you're interested in versus committed to. There is a difference, and you know it. Just as. Now, there's the word for earth. there's a sound meaning, okay? Now, I've focused a lot on the metaphorical or some of these other universal applications of Aramaic, but for the word earth, for that earth, just as it is on earth, I got to give you a sound meaning. Dads, I'm going to sit on this couch. Grandpas, I'm going to sit on this couch, okay? And I want you to make the sound that I should make, that you always make when you sit on the couch. You ready? Lay it on me. Right? You ever do that, Dale? Time or two in your life? Anybody do this and then they like kick your feet up and you unbutton your pants? If I'm over at your house, would you knock it off? Like we're watching a football game and you're like, oh yeah, click, click, click. No. That's not going to happen. So what is that sound? What is that sound I'm talking about? It's a deep-seated groan. It's a sigh, and the word for earth in Aramaic has a sound meaning where humans feel the support of the earth. You feel the support of your provision. You feel the support of what God's provided for you to take rest. And that's why we go, oh, man, because you felt the support of the couch. When Jesus uses the word earth in Aramaic, your kingdom come on earth, the thing that supports us, the thing that is provision, the thing that gives us rest. Now in Hebrew, it's all the natural, all the gatherings of mass here. But in Aramaic, it's this support here, that your acts, like, I desire your will with me. And it's this support where I really think we got to clarify our needs and our wants. Does that make sense? I think sometimes we love to talk about, well, frankly, what we want God to provide for, but what we actually need. Do you realize that those are sometimes two different things? Like God will provide your needs, not your wants. The other thing I'll just simply say here about this idea when it comes just to like how we care for the earth, can I say something real quick? Have you ever peeled the couch cushions back and look underneath your couch? You find like a bunch of change, a bunch of junk. Am I right? Okay, that is not how we should care for the earth. This isn't a political statement. This isn't a, hey, let's go green. This is just a simple reality that you need to care for the thing that gives you support. What's that mean? I shouldn't have to pick up your trash. You should be a grown human and throw it in the trash. And if it's recyclable, go ahead and recycle. You'll do it one better. And if you got to change your oil in your car, don't just dump it on the earth. Take it to some place where they know what to do it with. It's called responsibility. It's called sitting down and having the same perspective of the Christ, that this is the foundation. This is the thing that he gives us to support us. So care for it like you would your couch. Soapbox over. Thy kingdom come on earth just as it is in heaven. Your desire acts with ours. May we do this in rhythm with your wills. Help me practice this until I just breathe your decrees and plans. Rest in this foundation, caring for creation. As it is in all your light, may it be in all forms. What perspective of God's will do you need to practice so it becomes second nature? Is it consistent? Is it stable? Now, the first half of the prayer is very introverted, if you will. Am I? Okay. Somebody tell me that next time. Just give me a heads up. I felt like I was tied to the couch. Feeling the support, more like tethered to the support. The first half of the prayer is very introverted in nature, okay? And I'm going to get one more line through, and we're going to be out of here at 11:35. Is that okay? 11:35, not 45. Okay? We give you one more line. The first prayer, the first half of this prayer, how many of you are extroverts? Raise your hand. Okay? How many of you are introverts? And you just want to get in a room and read a book with an introvert and not talk? Put your hand up again. Okay, how many of you are one of the other? Yeah, you're one of the other. You're either one. And sometimes you don't know. Everyone's hand should be up. Okay, there you go. That's how you qualify the room. We're all in this at some level. And the prayer of the Lord's Prayer, the first half of it is very introverted spirituality. Excuse me. Let me go back. No, yes, I'm right. It's very introverted spirituality. You're talking about things inside. Now, the second half of the prayer is very extroverted, things outside. Does that make sense? The 4 lines of the Lord's Prayer: introverted spirituality, extroverted spirituality. It's this idea that the first half of the prayer, and let me tell it to you a different way so you can understand this metaphor. It's very cosmos down. It's a very Aramaic statement, the word cosmos. Some of you are like, oh, that's really new agey, Pastor Eric, to use the word cosmos in a sermon. Buckle up. It's in the Bible. He made the cosmos. Relax. And if you want to do hot yoga and you want to pray during your time, that's fine. Goat yoga's a little weird. Can I be honest? Anyone seen that ever? They actually put goats on the back of people, and I don't get it. Goats are like a metaphor for the devil. Have you ever seen the fainting goats? The screaming goats where they scream? They're the coolest animals ever. Could you imagine if we had just goats out in the park? Never mind. Okay. The first half is very cosmos down, okay? Very heaven down. And the second half is very earth up. The Lord's Prayer takes a twist right here at this middle point, and I wanted to hit it last week here just for clarity, but we had a special guest and we went a little long, and I want to make sure that this is a very clean break in the Lord's Prayer. Everything we've been talking about in Aramaic is all heavens down, and now we're shifting into earth up. Give us this day our what? Daily bread. There's a word for bread. It's lakma, okay? I've got Ezekiel bread right here. This is in your organic section of your grocer's freezer, which is translated from Hebrew to English as expensive. This loaf is like $9, maybe $8, $6 if you go to Costco. And in this, there's a recipe that's found in the book of Ezekiel 4:9. You combine these grains. It's a perfect protein. Science and nerd out on this bread later, but it's absolutely fascinating that God gives this to Ezekiel. You're going to eat it for 300 days, and it actually can sustain him because guess what? God knows what's in it because, he made it. And so he makes this bread, and it's the daily bread. It's our provision. How many of you are thankful for the daily bread that God's given you? How many of you are thankful that you're not hungry today? How many of you are thankful that you can't remember the last time you were actually hungry? And if you actually did go a week without groceries, or you do not have grocery security, you need to talk to me because there's a lady that does this for St. Paul. Her name's Tracy, and she wants to sharpen your iron by providing nutrient-rich food for people who cannot secure it for themselves. You don't even understand what it means to be hungry. You're not hungry, you're bored. You eat for entertainment. So do I. Vacation. You go on vacation. It's another place. Jim Gaffigan says it's like going to another place, eating in a different place. That's all vacation is. You go somewhere else to eat. We're so fat. You're so well fed. You haven't missed a meal. You're not hungry. In fact, you're thinking about eating right now. I'm talking about food. When they brought that pie out, that cheesecake, some of you are like, oh man, can I get a slice? Why? Because we're addicted to daily provision. That's why fasting is so hard, by the way. And wait till you get to the series with me on that when we talk about fasting. Y'all gonna look good. You're gonna be fighting weight. Never been so lean. Everybody like, man, what's going on at Summit? Everyone looks sickly and weak, and they got oil all over themselves. We've been in a series of prayer and fasting for 400 days. We think about provision in the form of bread, right? Daily provision, okay? But the word in Aramaic has nothing to do with, well, it has to do with provision in bread, okay? Like what we eat, what we consume, what God puts in front of us. But the beautiful thing about this word, this is a special loaf I found. The beautiful thing about this word is it actually talks about something else, and that's understanding. God, give us your daily bread isn't just bread, it's actually understanding. Are you tracking with me? That was good. And I asked the lady at Trader Joe's, do you have Ezekiel bread with light bulbs inside? And she was like, no, you're crazy, get out of here. But we talk about provision in the form of bread, and that's actually God giving you what you need, not what you want. And what you need is understanding, or HMA. In the word lakma, the HMA is actually where we get the word holy wisdom in Hebrew. And actually the Greeks take that HMA and they come up with the word Sophia, which Pastor Brandon and Meg's daughter is Sophie, and that actually means the embodiment of wisdom. Well, never mind, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to filter that out. Do you understand what I'm saying? When Jesus says, give us this day your daily bread, it's not just what you get, it's what you know. Needs. The word for our needs, this daily bread, this idea of needs, it's actually like the best metaphor in Aramaic I can come up with would be like a nest. Like if you had a nest around you, that's what you need. I'm not talking about the things way out in front of you. I'm talking about the things right in front of you. The circle of nest, the circle of needs. And we get so locked up sometimes in the far off destination of what our provision looks like, we forget to enjoy the journey. We get so focused on looking forward that we don't even look down. We get so enamored with all of our wants, like we want to do this and own that and go here, that we forget the daily bread is the circle of nest. It's the provision in front of you. It's not talking about your far off things that are way off there. It's talking about the here and now, the fruit for provision and the understanding for this moment, not the thing that's way off far in front of you. That's why Jesus says, don't even worry about tomorrow, because you can't even like manufacture like tomorrow. It's going to happen. You're not going to add anything to you. Look at the birds of the air. They've got food. They've got provision. It's the borrowing of the future that causes you to have a deep-seated sense of anxiety. You know why you have anxiety? It's because you're constantly worried about 10 years down the road rather than 10 minutes in front of you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have a plan, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have a life trajectory, but I'm saying if you keep taking the right steps with God on his life path for you, guess where you're going to go? To the right path. On the right way. If you try and like pick out of like a number of doors some destination that becomes your journey rather than the journey becoming the destination, you may walk off the path and walk every which way, and who knows if that door is even the one you're supposed to go through. When Jesus says, give us this daily bread, he's talking about fruit and he's talking about understanding. He's talking about provision for the next step, not these seasons way far off. It's like the Polaroid that we want to not possess. We want to see the big picture, and the lamp unto our feet, the daily bread, is just a snapshot, and you take that step in that snapshot, and pretty soon you find yourself in a beautiful work of art that has become your life. That is all in that one line. Give us this day your daily bread. Clarify my needs, my wants. Read it with me. Paraphrased. Let me focus Let me now focus, not just internally, focus on your light externally, not just introverted communion with you. Focus me to extroverted relationship with others. Grant what I need each day in bread for my stomach and insight for my soul. And church, I'll just close with this. And Katie, as you come, or Christy, can I just ask the simple question? I don't know where this journey of 44 years for me as your pastor will end. Like, I don't have a destination for you. Do you know what I think Summit really needs? Other than parking? I think it's twofold. I think Summit as a church needs to figure out how to be a church together. I think you need to figure out how to keep a senior pastor. Just being honest. I think you need to figure out, because on the flip side of that coin, what Summit really needs is a tenure. Summit needs stability and consistency for a number of years ahead of it. That just doesn't include just me. That just might include that family in the back that I met. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? Summit really needs some consistency and stability. It needs a tenure. It needs some time of consistency in our desires. And we got to stop getting so focused on the journey, or the destination rather, for the church. I know we've got debt. Trust me. I know we've got stuff we're trying to accomplish, and alpha groups we want to launch, and men's groups we want to launch, and women's groups, and stuff for kids and the neighbor. I know all of these destinations. Trust me. I got 10 ideas for your one. And that's not a point of pride. That's just a point of gifting. I'm an apostle. I have ideas. Like, I wake up having ideas. I can't go to sleep because I have ideas. And I got a great counsel around me to help siphon and chaff off and whittle away and focus those ideas. But the truth is we have a destination. And there's all kinds of things that I would love to see launched as destinations. A healthy church, not a big church. Could be big, but it certainly feels small. A place where people are discipled, where our kids learn the Bible, where they find hope in any walk of life, where we truly champion a city, so much so if we were gone, they would know it. There's all these destinations ahead of us, ahead of you. But stop focusing on all of the things that we don't have, and start looking at the understanding and the provision of what we do. Don't get so focused, Summit, on all the things that are to come when we really miss what's in front of us. This is a special moment. We get to walk in it. It's our daily bread. It's provision for this time. Let's walk in that understanding. We don't have to race, because the destinations that we can see, we dream, and we need, those things are destinations. But the journey is the destination, not the destination. The journey becomes the destination. The destination just becomes a place we eventually get. For me, for you, I think that's our daily bread. Rest in that process. Practice God's will. Share that mutual desire. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And give us today our daily bread. Jesus, I just pray, God, that you would give us the strength this week to be in the gym, the prayer gym. Thank you for this morning that we could come together. God, I pray for the family situations on Monday. Some of these people are going to see their family, and that family that they got gives them the greatest opportunity to become the most like Christ. Because there's challenges there. God, I pray that they would be light as they walk into those family gatherings. pray that every single staff member at Summit this week, all the volunteers, we truly find just a moment of reprieve and rest and Sabbath. I pray for God that those that have to work on Monday, they're in a spot where they're required to show up, that they bring the kingdom with them. Help us as a church, God, not to get so focused on the destination, but enjoy the journey that we're on together. That's the daily bread. That's the understanding we need. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for coming to church. We'll see you at the next expedition. Make sure if you're new, connect at the Welcome Center. We have a gift for you. Continue to love each other and love people. We're on an amazing journey, church. That's what we needed today. God bless you.